Hey Voyagers, this is a review of narrative writing structure for your Sandlot rewrites. So here we go. The writing situation you already know, which is in the Sandlot, Smalls is an adult at the beginning of the story, and then the movie becomes a flashback to his past, and at the very end we return to the present and Smalls is an adult again. You're going to use the same structure to write about your own life. So, you're going to start in a fictional paragraph, just imagining what will you be doing in 15 years. Have a little fun with it, and this is totally fictional. It does not have to follow a plot chart, the flash forward. Then you move to the flashback in the middle. This is a non-fiction, true story, a memory from your past that's meaningful to you. It should follow a plot structure, and it should have made an impact on your life. It will be at least 5 paragraphs. The last paragraph is a return to the flash forward, kind of a back to the future kind of a thing. It's going to be fictional again, and you will return to what you're doing in 15 years and reflect on your story. Your story will show all of these elements of narrative. It will follow the plot chart, it will have foreshadowing, it will have characterization, tone, vivid verbs, figurative language, dialogue, and strong grammar. I'm just going to briefly go over each one of these things to make sure that you really know how to succeed on this paper. So first of all, the plot chart. We've already studied this, so the labels should look familiar. And so your story, the true story from your past, will follow this structure. You'll start with your setting, your characters, and your conflict. You'll build your suspense as you move towards the climax. Before you reach the climax, you'll want to add a little foreshadowing in. So just to remind you, foreshadowing is a hint at future events. We're thinking about the Sandlot. 2 examples of foreshadowing come when the boys say, "That's when we got into the biggest pickle of our lives," and also, "It was an omen." That makes you feel like something big is coming, and it builds the suspense up. It builds it up to the climax, and the climax is the turning point. That's where the conflict is faced. Then the falling action loosens the tension and wraps up any loose ends, moving into the resolution, which gives the moral of the story and resolves the conflict. Here's a plot chart for Sandlot. I'm not going to go over it in detail because of time, but if you need it, you can pause the video and look it over. Going on to characterization, remember when you write your story, you want to give your characters personality through their actions, choices, dialogue, and their physical description. So think about the difference between Benny and Smalls. Even just in these 2 pictures, you can see that they have different personalities. You want to do the same thing to your characters. You also want to use vivid verbs to entertain your reader. You want to show instead of telling with action words. You also want to use figurative language. Similes, metaphors, personification, hyperbole, allusion, sensory detail. We've studied this quite a bit already, but I have given you some more examples, and again you can pause the video to go over that in detail if you feel the need. Dialogue. You're going to be having your characters speak to one another, just like in pretty much every novel. You want to be careful to follow punctuation rules. I have shown you every possible way that dialogue can be introduced. You can have the speaker at the end, you can have the speaker in the middle, or the speaker at the beginning. And you want to just pay close attention to the punctuation of dialogue. It is on page 99 of your grammar book, so we're going to go over that in class. Your story should also have a specific tone. That's mood in your writing. Is your story funny, lighthearted, dramatic, solemn, sarcastic? You want to keep one tone throughout. Just a quick return to vivid verbs we talked about before. I wanted to show you an example as well. So instead of simply saying she was sad, you want to give something a little bit more specific. So get rid of that dead verb and say something more like she sobbed and sniffled, snot flowing out of her nose. So you give somebody a vivid picture. Finally, point of view, your unique perspective. You want to look at the short story My Future for extra help with this one. Remember, your story will be told from a first-person limited perspective. At the end of your story, you'll give a theme or a moral. You'll reflect on the story, and you'll tell the reader why it stuck with you. You'll say what you learned from the experience. You might say, "I learned how to deal with disappointment," or "I learned that my family really cares about me," or "I learned that telling the truth is always the right way to go." Whatever it is, it should be specific to your story. The very last thing I need to tell you before you get going on writing your own fabulous stories is don't forget about the grammar goals for this assignment. We have 2 focuses. You're going to work on sentence types using the simple, compound, and complex sentences, and you're also going to be really careful with verb tense, thinking about I go, I went, I am going, the present, the past, and the future. So good luck. I'm really excited to read your stories, and remember to work hard.